forward. Hi, Walia. Hi, Rita. We're just waiting for a few more people to jump on and then we'll kick off. Because we want to optimize our hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me see if I can rally the troops. Okay. So I don't like this bit of it, the waiting. All right, I would like there to be more than 5 of us. Come on, come. You guys, there are not many of us, so let's show up. Let's show up if it's possible. Hi, Lundi, how are you?
There's more joining.
Incredible. So we're a small group, guys. Please step away from behind the camera. Let's get intimate. let's get to know each other. No pressure. Let's see. All right. Let's kick off at 5 past. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
And let's see.
More people coming in.
Hi, sir. Hey, how are you? Let's see. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good, 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 good. All righty. So I think everybody who's here has been at a session already. Marianne admits, great, great. Hey, Walia, how are you?
Evening, everybody. Nice to see some faces.
Yay. Hi, Mary. All right. So, I think I can be a bit more informal on this one because I think everyone knows me. We have Femi, great, great. Hi, Femi, welcome. Good. Let's see. Okay, so I'm recording. Hey, Mary, how are you? Good to see you.
Good, thanks. How are you?
Fantastic. Hey, Rita. Hey, Lenny. Guys, join us. I know Ngozi can't. For me, show up. All right. So let's kick off. So hey everybody, and thanks again for joining us. I'm excited to welcome all of you. I think you all know who I am and you all know what LBB is about. But for those who I know are going to be tuning in, my name is Nena Onuba and I'm the founder of LBB. And LBB is short for Life is Beautiful in Balance. And that's really the ethos of the whole brand, which also explains the series of events we've been running. I've had 7 days, events over 7 days, sort of celebrating LBB turning 1. And also in the UK, it's October, which is Black History Month. And I've chosen to really elevate some amazing Black voices in well-being on topics that are very close to mine and LBB's are important pillars. And today we have Yvette, who is going to be talking to us about self-care, because one of the things that's really important to me and our ethos, life is beautiful in balance, because I really believe that we should look great because we feel great. And part of my coming to this whole journey is because I recognize that, look, there are times when it can be hard to make time for proper self-care, especially when you feel like you don't have any. And what Yvette's come in today to do is to help give us some anchors and really help us make time for it. And look, as a brand, our whole approach and MO with products is creating really clean, beautiful, high-performing, natural products that are multitasking. They're versatile, and so they can easily fit into your lifestyle. And the whole MO is to rejuvenate mind and body in a minimal amount of time, and yet without compromising on any of the performance, the quality, or the pleasure that you expect to get from your products. I'm going to introduce you guys very quickly to Yvette. Today's session is about designing your self-care plan, and you should know about this amazing woman. Dr. Yvette Ankrah MBE is an award-winning transformational business coach. She's a prominent advocate for women in business. She really believes that a personal self-care plan is as important as any other plan, business plan or otherwise, for sustainable success. So this is a 60-minute session. And by the end of it, we hope that you'll leave with some clarity of your self-care needs, a mini plan, and ways to support your own personal and professional well-being. So a little bit about Yvette. She has over 2 decades of experience supporting entrepreneurs and professionals, helping them to succeed without the burden of stress and burnout. She describes herself as a recovering overachiever and has dedicated her life's work to ensuring women really have that optimum environment, the tools and skills that we need to thrive in business. She's been awarded an MBE for her work supporting women in business as part of the Queen's Birthday Honours. For those who are from the other side, the Queen gives out these awards to really acknowledge people who've made a significant contribution to the country. And award received, Yvette received that in 2017. She's also an accredited NLP coach and has a PhD in sociology. So I'm really excited to welcome you, Yvette, and I can't wait to get into today's session with you. So the stage is...
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I would say if you haven't got a pen and paper, it might be useful to get one so you can actually start doing some work as we go through, because I will get you to answer some questions as well. And I'm going to kick off by sharing my screen and getting into the presentation. Okay. So welcome, 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 everybody. I'm going to start by asking you a question of how are you right now? And I'd like you to score this between 0 and 10. So 0 is Zen, you're in the most beautiful, amazing place that you've ever been in your life and you're feeling totally amazing. 10 is you're thinking of moving to Mars because it seems really peaceful and quiet out there and it might be just better than whatever else is going on here right now. So I'd just like you to put that score between 0 and 10 on the top of your paper. We're going to come back to that later on. So I'll tell you a little bit about me and my journey. the importance of self-care, and you'll work out how you can create a plan today, and you'll also start that process and be looking at what you can actually start doing tomorrow. So thank you for the intro. I will just kind of overview again. I am a neuro-linguistic programming and performance coach, and NLP, for those who don't know, is all about how your thoughts connect with your behavior. So how you think, what programs you're running internally will show up in your behavior and achievements. Performance coaching is a particular tool that helps people shift limiting beliefs, and it's a lovely process to help kickstart people. You can use in business, sports, life in general. But my background is actually, I trained as a journalist many years ago, and then moved into PR marketing before going into business development. And I've worked in tech, education, the voluntary sector, and I've worked facilitating boards, been on boards myself, and I'm also currently a chair of a charity which looks at mental health and wellbeing, locally where I live. And then I got my MBE for supporting women in business back in 2017. And I was part of a grassroots campaign to get more support, and I co-wrote the manifesto for women in business. The PhD is all about race, class, identity and belonging. So that's my area of expertise. And identity is something that comes up a lot within my coaching work as well. So that's just a little bit more of an overview of me. But I talk about those things because often people see the accolades and see any letters, but they have no idea what that journey was like. And for me, what happened was I pushed and pushed my body until my body kind of couldn't take it anymore. And I developed a long-term health condition. So I'm very passionate about helping women avoid stress and burnout. That's been an integral part of my personal journey. And I see it with so many other high achievers. And I see that people often end up being stretchered out of the workplace rather than walking out if that's their choice. And I really want to stop other women going down the path that I did and ending up with chronic conditions. So just to get us all in the space, I'm going to do a little breathing exercise with you. So if you just sit just comfortably. And what we're going to do is something called 4-4 breathing. So what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in for the count of 4, hold for the count of 4, and breathe out for the count of 4. And we're going to do this twice. So, you ready? In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4. One more time. Take a deep breath in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4. That breath keeps you present, keeps you grounded. If you've got a busy meeting or something happening, you can do that before you go in. It's a way of getting you prepared for work, and also as a way of just shutting out whatever's gone on before so that you're present and ready. And breath is something we have all the time and you can use whenever. And that's one breath technique that you can do at your desk. And you probably might find it very handy in the next few weeks as you rush towards the end of the year. So I'm actually a woman on a mission because I really, as I said, don't want to have more women experiencing burnout. Burnout is something that has increased exponentially amongst our society. And without us starting to take more care, more of us are going to experience the side effects of burnout. So I wanted just to give a little bit of an overview, and I've written pre-COVID because obviously the situation we find ourselves in is a bit unusual. But looking at stress on a macro and a micro level. So for the individual, you might find you're not as motivated as you once were. You might find you're making little silly mistakes, or you're having arguments that you wouldn't normally have. You might notice changes within your body. And the reason I put finances there, because it would affect your decision making. So that can impact the bottom line. So that's whether you work for yourself or whether you work for somebody else. And unfortunately, ladies, women are more impacted by stress than men. 50% more in fact. Now, they're still looking at exactly how and why. We may have some clues as to why that happens for us, but we know that women feel the impacts of stress. So, looking after yourself is even more critical as a woman. And we often don't. We often put ourselves right at the bottom of that taking care of list. As a society as a whole, we're finding there's a rise in mental health issues as well. And according to the Health and Safety Executive, and this was back in 2017, these figures, 15.4 days were lost to stress, anxiety, and depression. Now, before it used to be back pain that stopped people coming to work. Now it's the sort of feedback coming from stress. So it has a huge impact on us as individuals, us as a society, whether we're leaders in the workplace, on families. So being able to manage, deal with, and hopefully eliminate a lot of stressors can make a profound difference to all of us. So I just wanted to talk about stress versus burnout and actually understand what the two are. So there is actually no medical definition of stress. And Mind, which is a UK mental health charity, sees it in two ways. So the first part is anything that puts pressure on us. So a situation that's outside of our control, that we suddenly find that something is happening around us. So COVID is a case in point. But the second part is how we respond to it. So our response to that stress is also quite important. So to give you an example, it's 5 to 5. You had plans of switching off the computer, possibly, but then you get an email from your boss and it's urgent. It has to be done now. So those plans that you had are done now. So that's the thing that puts pressure on us. But the bit that happens next is up to you. One person might suddenly think, how am I going to get this done? It's coming so late. Why are they always doing this to me? What's going on? And that's their response. Immediately, they go into a stress response. Another person might think, yeah, not great, but you know what? I think I can get this done. I can manage this. It's okay. It will take me 30 minutes. We're good. How you respond to situations is incredibly important. And what happens with stress as well, it has a different physiology to burnout. It affects you physically and mentally in a different way. So what happens when you're stressed? The adrenaline starts going, you start getting ready to act. And that stress can be incredibly useful because it keeps us safe. If that car's speeding up, we get across that road quicker. However, that deadline is not a saber-toothed tiger. It is not coming to eat you. It is not coming to take you out. But our body responds as if it is something extremely dangerous. And our body responds in the same way as if it was that saber-toothed tiger. So we're either going to fight, we're going to flight, we're going to freeze, whatever it is, but our body is going to want to get to do something. So you've lots of adrenaline's going, your blood pressure's going. And what happens with that is if you stay in that space, you can develop chronic stress. But while you're stressed, your body's getting ready to do all these things, and then hopefully the stress goes, your body says, right, stress issue's gone, we're going to calm you back down again, you go back to normal. If you are unable to switch off the stress response, your body's responding like that all the time. And then what happens is the blood pressure staying high. You might find that you've got aches and pains that are appearing. You suddenly think, oh, why do I feel a bit off? You might find you get cold as well because it's going to affect your immune system. And you get irritable. Everybody annoys you. So you're finding some of these things are happening with you. You're also kind of worrying. It might affect your behavior in terms of in relationship to eating or sleeping. So you'll find that all these things will be happening in your body when you're experiencing stress. And we all have experienced stress in some ways, and we might know our symptoms, we might know our triggers. We often don't notice when it becomes our norm, when we're feeling like that all of the time. And that's when you're experiencing that chronic stress, as I mentioned. And if you stay in that space of chronic stress and you aren't able to switch off, you aren't able to calm those symptoms down, you can experience burnout. Now, burnout is a completely different kettle of fish. And according to the World Health Organization, it's what happens when chronic stress, particularly in the workplace, is not managed. So we have created burnout. And having experienced stress, chronic stress, and burnout, I can say it's not much fun when you're in that space. Because the almost opposite happens to when you're in stress. Whereas you have all that lovely energy and feel that you want to do something, you have to get stuff done. Burnout, you're depleted. There is no energy, there is no desire. Things that you enjoy, that you love, that you're passionate about, you're just not that bothered about. Things that you could do before that would help you feel a bit better, have no interest and don't have the same response. You might feel exhausted but can't sleep, or might just want to sleep all the time. And the thing that also happens with burnout, it affects cognition. So you might have memory lapses. So all of these things are happening. But here's the thing, as an individual, you can help yourself not get into that space. If you are somebody that manages a team, you can support your staff as well to ensure that they're not getting in that space by how you operate as a manager. So there's lots of ways we can help mitigate against this. And one of the things that really does help stop you getting in that space is by creating a self-care plan. And it's one of the reasons I'm really passionate about self-care planning, because it is a tool that you can use to stop you getting in that space. And the other thing that's very joyful about it is if you are in that space, you can use these techniques to help you start to come out. So when I talk about self-care, I'm not just talking about the glass of wine in the evening, the bubble bath, the spa day. They're all very lovely and really important, but it is deeper than that. It's about the daily habits and practices that you do to look after yourself, mind, body, and soul. So if you think about at the beginning when I said to write a number from 0 to 10, if you wrote a number between 0 and 4, you're doing really well. And there's lots of great things you're doing. So think about what it is you're doing that's making you feel that good. If you wrote a number 5 to 10, think about what's causing that. What area of your life are you finding that there's issues? And what can you do to mitigate against them? So I'm going to talk in a little bit more detail about the work, physical and psychological, but just to go through the whole circle. So work is anything you do for your employment. The physical is to do with your body, psychological, what's going on in your head. Now with the emotional, that is about connecting with your emotions. It's about having someone to talk to about them. It's about working through them. And so often we suppress them and sometimes hide them. And that could be whether it's joy or anger. We don't want to be too out there, too happy about stuff because people might have a judgment about that. In the same way that we might not always want to be angry because there may be the whole idea of being an angry woman, particularly if, being an angry Black woman as well. What does that mean? So you might not show emotions and we might suppress and hide them. And the problem with that is that you then can get other issues. Your body will let you know that that's not good. So something like journaling can be good for that, and talking to others. And if you are experiencing, a lot of emotional issues, it's good to actually reach out and get some support for that. On the spiritual, now this doesn't mean God unless that is part of your worldview. It could be meditation, it could be connection with nature. The whole idea is it's something more than you. It can also include volunteering. People often think self-care is selfish. It's not. There is a lot of connection with others that's important. As a species, we need connection with other people. So that spiritual bit could be, as I said, doing something in nature, volunteering, giving back, giving to others, or giving in some way, giving of yourself in some way, and acknowledging there's something more than you. And relationships, this is about your closest, your nearest, your dearest, the people that you often don't spend enough time with. These are the people that when you're with them, you might not always be present because you're busy thinking about all the different things you need to do and not really focusing on what it's like just spending that time with them. And that's really important, because being present is something that we often are not. We're thinking about work, we're thinking about other things, but so being present for these people. So I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about those other areas. So let's go back, sorry. We all want to be like this lady, don't we, in this well-lit office, smiling, engaged, loving our work. We couldn't think of anything better. Look how happy she is. She's great. She's enjoying it, isn't she? We feel like that about work, right? Don't we? No? Okay. Well, it'd be great if we could all feel this way about work and have the most amazing, well-lit office. And at the moment, some of us are working at the ends of our beds or on ironing boards or kitchen tables, right? But the idea about thinking about work is it's on all different aspects. It's looking at your relationships with colleagues, for example, or or peers or suppliers or clients or whoever it is you have to connect with. Are there conversations you need to have with some people so that you can get a better working relationship? Would that help your day? If you didn't have that person that stands over you regularly and breathes on you when you're trying to do something. What about in terms of your work itself? When was the last time you did some training? Perhaps maybe it's time for secondment. You want to do something different within the workplace, or you might even want to do something completely different. How are you thinking about your career, your development? How are you being fulfilled in your working life? And it also is about your environment. I know in so many offices, and I know a lot of us are at home, but I know some people have gone back to offices. There's that perennial argument of, I'm too hot, I'm too cold, I want the aircon on, I don't want the aircon on, if you have to share space with people. It might be your lighting. What about images or pictures? What can you have around you that can uplift your environment? And if you are now based at home, how can you create a space that is conducive to you? I'm looking then as plants. I've got this orchid envy, right, of all of that amazing gorgeousness in the background. What can you do to make your space a place that you want to work in and enjoy being in? So when you're thinking about work, you're thinking about it in all different levels. And how can you make what you do and where you are great for you? We spend 90,000 hours of our lives at work. We need to enjoy them. So again, this is the team meeting that I'm sure we'd all love to have, where we're outside doing yoga with our colleagues. But thinking of the physical, it is everything to do with our bodies. It's everything to do with this vessel we are housed in. We may have quite long lives, and it's good to look after your body. Now, one of the things that adults often don't do is drink enough water. We are mostly dehydrated, and that dehydration affects your cognition, it affects your productivity. So by drinking water regularly throughout the day, you can make a huge difference to your well-being and to your output in the day. So if you're thinking about water, how often are you drinking water? Have you got a glass? Have you got a bottle that you're getting through it? Is it something that you're neglecting? It could be something quite simple. Exercise. Again, we are often sitting a lot. How are you getting exercise in? Whether it's a short walk or whether it's a HIIT session, how do you fit it in within your day? And if you're someone that hasn't exercised regularly, how can you get more movement into your day? My office is on the top floor of my house. If I want a cup of tea, I have to walk down several flights of stairs. It's an incentive to get up and down all day. But thinking about, how you do it, you don't have to become a gym bunny if that's not the thing for you, but what would you enjoy doing that's maybe more physical? Another thing that's important is sleep. Most adults are sleep deprived. Don't get enough sleep, promise that they will get enough sleep and don't. So again, not getting enough sleep affects your performance, affects your mental health. If you're not getting enough sleep, how can you create healthy sleep routines as well? Then thinking about food. How many of you, show hands, eat lunch at your desk? Yeah. Okay, right. When was the last time you actually took a lunch break? Can't remember? Away from your desk? Feel free to unmute yourself and jump in, or okay, you're in the chat. I can't, it sort of throws me out if I try to do it. So Nena, tell me what people have said.
Ngozi says, today, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. No, today.
Wonderful. Because so often we're just sitting through our lunch breaks at our desk. We're not taking that time out and actually having a break and actually sitting and enjoying that food. You could have a mindful experience just sitting and eating and just, you know, slowly eating and enjoying the taste rather than shoveling whatever is whatever's there down so you can quickly get on with the next task. Taking those breaks away also means that you get more done. You have that break away from that screen, because I'm sure we're all pretty screened out at the moment as well. So getting your eyes away, getting natural light is all really important. So if you haven't taken a lunch break away from your desk, try and factor one in tomorrow and consider building up to 5 days a week. But, you know, I'm not asking you to change overnight. So everything physical is anything to do with your body, caring for it, looking after it. If you know that there are things going on for you right now that would benefit you taking a bit more care of yourself. For example, as I said about stress, you might eat or overeating or eating things that you know are particularly great. I mean, I do love cheesy puffs, but you know, they're not the best. They're not, I don't think they're even a food source really, right? But if you know that you are eating things regularly that aren't particularly healthy or nutritious, what's going on with that? It could be your way of responding to stress. And that's the same with alcohol or anything else. You may be self-medicating in a way to support yourself. So consider what you're doing with your body. And the psychological, as I mentioned, that's anything to do with your mind. We are busy. We have thousands of thoughts every day. Our brain happily filters a lot of them out, but a lot of the time we might feel that there's a swirl of thoughts going on. And if you imagine almost like a computer with all those tabs open, you've got all those different things going on. One tab might be this project, another tab's another project, the other tab is the kids, the other tab is the laundry, the other tab is the parents. There's all these different tabs that you've got open and you're trying to flip through all of them. So what you want to do is see if you can slowly close each tab, one by one by one. So you're peaceful and you don't have all of that going on in your mind. So you can actually think and get some clarity on what's going on for you. Journaling is a really good way of doing that. Just kind of a brain, a kind of dump of whatever's going on. Mindfulness is also a great practice. And there's lots of activities that you can do mindfully, really mundane things like making a cup of tea. You can just sit there and say, right, I'm going to do the kettle, I'm going to pour the water, I'm going to slowly do it. And you're not thinking about anything else, you're just completely focused on making that tea. And when you're doing that, you're actually not thinking about anything else. Your brain is just shut off and just focused on that. And it's allowed you just to get back in your body and out of your head. And there's lots of ways just bringing in those little mindful moments. And you'll find that, you know, after that cup of tea that you've sat and you've sipped and you've enjoyed that steam, when you go back to do whatever you're doing, you're actually more refreshed, you're more alert, and you'll find you'll do better than if you've just carried on trying to go through all those different tabs. So those are 3 of those areas in depth. So when you're looking at your self-care plan, you'd look at all of these areas and say, which of these can I do more on, or am I doing really well on and want to do more of? So it could be work's going amazingly, you're loving your job, your career, but you know what, your health is not doing too great. I need to do something, I haven't exercised. So then you might think, okay, I'm going to pick something here that I'm going to start with. And if you were to do this in depth, you would kind of really go into the detail of it all and then pick your key areas. What we're going to do today is just do a little bit of work on this because we don't have time to do the whole shebang. But it's not about doing it all, and it's not about doing it all now. It's about picking some important bits that, you know, would really make a difference. So here's your chance to actually get the start of it. So you can do some more homework on this, but thinking about the score you gave yourself and what's going on for you. Think about 3 things that you could change that would make the most impact, whether it's taking that lunch break, having that difficult conversation, drinking more water, or exercising. And I want you to think what you can start tomorrow. I'm all about taking action. We often talk about stuff and then we never implement. So what could you do tomorrow? And then how will you set yourself up for success? So for example, you decide, right, going to exercise first thing in the morning. If your gym kit is at the bottom of your wardrobe and you have to search for it in the morning, you are unlikely to rush to exercise. Whereas if it's ready, prepared, it's there as soon as you wake up, it makes your life a little easier. That's setting yourself up for success. Getting a water bottle ready, filling it up as soon as you start your day, plonking it on the desk, and then making sure you sip regularly. That's your success. Blocking out that lunch break in your diary. That's how you can do that too. So 3 things that you can change that will make the most impact to change that score. What you can start tomorrow, and how you'll set yourself up for success. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and this lovely thing will count down, and I'll just give you a nudge at 1 minute. So if you just scribble down what you think will make the most impact for you.
Can you go back to the previous screen?
Yep.
With the things.
Pop them on there.
Thank you.
Go about a minute. Okay. I'm going to stop you there. So now, how are you? What score would you give yourself from 0 to 10 now? You might find that your score's changed, or if it was low, it stayed the same. But you have been able to have time to think about what's going on, create a mini plan to make some changes so that you can move forward and change those numbers for yourself. So we've covered how stress and burnout affects you, why you need a self-care plan, 3 parts of that plan in depth, and also you've decided what you're going to do today to make a change. So I'm going to stop sharing now. I'm seeing all the chat now, so I can see the chat. I can't see the chat. Hiring more help. Yeah, that's on my list of to-dos. That's definitely on my list of to-dos. Lunch break in the garden, breathing, great. Because now I can see all this. Taking a walk, brilliant. All these, you're on mute.
No, I was just going to say, going for more walks, that's one I need to reintroduce, although the weather in the UK isn't helping.
The weather's not great, but you know, I did the same today because I felt I'd been stuck in this room writing all day, and I thought I just need to go for a walk. It was 15-20 minutes. It started chucking it down as I came back, but just put the hood up and went for a walk. But it's just thinking about these things for yourself and finding little moments in the day as well, because what you're actually doing is you're creating new habits. And the more you do it, the idea is that you keep going with this change, and you keep going, and then you create a new habit, and it becomes second nature to drink the water or to exercise. And it's not so hard to do it. So if you keep going for 21 days, you'll start forming a new habit. Keep going for 90 days, your brain is completely done, a brand new habit. So it's worth persevering if you want to really make that change happen, that change stick. And one of the things that Nana and I were talking about before was about evening routines and things like that, but we'll get into that. But I'd like to ask if there's any questions or comments that people want to make, or, you know, just feel free to unmute yourself and talk.
Yeah, so with my water, I have a hack, which I'm going to share. It's a bottle. And this way, I bought this a while ago now from Amazon, but it tells me at least my target is 2 liters a day. And I just use it. It's timed 7 a.m. Good morning, and I just follow it. And that's my goal. So I have actually topped this up today, but simple little hack.
Really simple, but really effective.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone else can go and get water bottles. So what else are people considering going to do or want to do?
So I was, when I was thinking through the wheel and like all the things that I do, actually I've been really good. So I've been putting in lots of things against every single segment, like over lockdown, I've been like quite disciplined about it. But a couple of weeks ago, I realized I was getting, like my mood was shifting. I was feeling quite low. Mm-hmm. And I realized that even though I've got all those things in my segments, what I'm so missing is spontaneity and like randomness. And even though I'm doing all the things that I do enjoy, it's because they're so routine now. Like I know when I'm going to do them, or I know that something's coming, or, you know, even the people I'm talking to, it's also predictable that it was like, yeah, it was bringing my mood down, because there's absolutely almost no spontaneity whatsoever. You can't just go out like randomly and meet some, you know, like go to someone's house or go to a bar or whatever. So I called up a colleague, an ex-colleague, and said, you just fancy it? Because we used to just go for random, you know, coffee chats, whatever, because we used to work near each other. And that perked me up so much. And so I've told myself I have to like, just, and I need new people.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's not people who I see all the time,
yeah,
or talk to all the time. It's like new conversation I need. So I've told myself I need to somehow do that. Mm-hmm. And the other, like with my exercise, like I do go out for walks, but my walk is the same route every single time, pretty much, even though I'm listening to a podcast. So I need to change up the route.
Yeah.
So that's, I thought that was quite interesting, that I did all the things that like they will tell you to do, but it was all the same. So I got bored.
Yeah, you get bored. To change it up, as you said, you know, you know, the same tree that you've gone around, you know, 15 times in lockdown, find a different tree. And if, I don't know how far away you are from something, but even driving to a different location and then doing a walk there.
Yeah.
You know, if you can go somewhere else, there's, you know, find a different space and then engage there. And if you have anyone that's local to you, if you can meet them for face-to-face coffee.
Yeah.
You know, we can, whilst we can still leave, we should leave before we lock down again. Thank you for sharing. Marianne, did you want to say something? Because we're on mute.
No, I was just going to say, people should share it. I mean, there aren't many of us, so let's be open. I'm curious to hear more examples like SUPs, right?
So I guess from my side, I haven't been well, I haven't been as successful as Sapti in nailing all those areas, although it sounds like depends how you measure success. But one thing that I found helpful, just on Anna's point around, for example, drinking water, it's been something I found harder through lockdown. I don't even know why. It's like your routine gets messed up and actually you're not so good at it. And for months I've been like, I must drink more water, I must drink more water, and I haven't succeeded. And one thing that I've done is, just with a couple of friends, we've set up a kind of weekly objectives group where you would, and I know Nems, you've done something similar, where at the beginning of the week we'll send our own list of objectives, and it's different for each person, but that's their list, and we'll check in a couple of times in the week around how we're doing, and then at the end of the week we'll report back, and then we'll set our new objectives. And actually just that accountability has been a massive switch from nowhere near drinking enough water to every day drinking my 2 liters without fail. And it's such a small thing, but it makes such a big difference. And I think one thing I found is really key is working out what motivates you and what drives you to build these habits, because that then helps you embed them a bit more successfully.
Definitely, you need to be connected to it. If it's not as important to you, you're not going to do it. And also that accountability, we love to not let other people down. So that is why accountability is beautiful for goal setting and goal achievement, because you're like, okay, I know they're going to check in on me, so I've got to say that I've done it. That's why it's a beautiful tool, and it works really nice. It's great that you've got that, and you've got those people supporting you as well. Having good support systems during this time is really important, because one of the things I found, particularly with my friends that live alone, is loneliness and not feeling they're connected. Friends that have children or partners have got completely different other things going on, but it's that kind of, wherever space you find yourself occupied in, if you're not looking after you, you can't do anything for anybody else. And it's important to connect with others and to have those conversations, or have that virtual coffee if you can't physically see somebody, and also to switch off. We're not switching off. We're really not switching off from our days. It's all sort of this blurring of day, night, and we'd have that routine of going to work and coming home. Well, not in my case, I work from home, but it's that kind of routine that you would have, or even if you would go and do something normally, and then suddenly you're just at home all the time. We're not having that break. That come home, kick your shoes off, take the bra off, and then suddenly you're in your relaxed mode, and dinner's on or whatever it is, and then that I am now not working. It's hard to do that when we sort of are at the desk and the computer's still on and we're kind of not cutting off. So one of the things I think, if you haven't done it, is all of you to create an end of day routine, to kind of cut yourself off from work and step into your own time and space. And there's a few things you can do, as I said, about the changing of the clothes or changing into different clothes, because if you'd gone to work, you most likely would have changed out of your work stuff into something more comfortable because you're at home, right? So it might be a case of changing clothes to signify, I'm not working now. It can be hard, especially if you're not used to it. I've kind of done it for quite a long time. And then I've kind of, so thinking about Nen's products, this one is this is my end of day, the mood rescue. So I don't know if I can. So there you go.
We should do a little like camera shot, right? Like moment.
Mood rescue.
Not in the club.
Have you got that?
I think everyone. Okay, Ngozi, we have to sort you out.
Right? Because
yes,
you can train yourself using scent, right? So you can say, this is, by that smell, that means I'm now in my relaxed mode. I'm now taking a step back. I'm now not doing that work thing. It's another thing you could do is maybe create a meditation or use a meditation to switch off from the day and just take some time just to do some breathing, and just to put yourself in a state of, I am now not working. But also depends where you're working as well. I mean, I'm lucky, I have an office, I can shut the door, and that shutting of the door when I walk out of it means I'm done. I don't need to go back in. If you don't have that and you've got a computer somewhere where you are eating or where your TV is, you can cover it. Get a lovely cloth or something, just cover it. And don't be tempted to go on there all night and look at stuff and stay on there. Switch off from it. I mean, if you want to search for something, maybe use your phone rather than the computer, so you're physically away from that space, so you just have a break from it. Another thing you can do if you don't have a dedicated office space is rearrange your furniture. So if you've got this configuration when it's daytime and work, you could change a chair around or put a screen or do something different. So this says this is evening and this is home. Yeah, if you do have a work phone, you can switch it off if your contract allows you to switch it off. But switching off the work phone, because the amount of times I've been talking to a client or something and they're distracted because the work phone's on, and they are just and it's 8 o'clock at night and they're still doing that. Your work needs to also have some boundaries and barriers between, you know, their time and your time. So sometimes it might be having a conversation about the boundaries and the expectations, so that you're not expected to be on call 24/7, unless you are a surgeon or your job means that you need to be on call 24/7. Most of us probably don't. And we have a right to our private life and a right to personal time. And being able to switch off and have that time is really important. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, Nena?
Yeah, lots. I mean, this is something I think about lots. I think I was, in fact, about to type in, if anyone listens to the Thrive Global podcast, right, she's a huge advocate of not sleeping with your phone in the bedroom. That whole process of let it be somewhere else, buy a proper alarm clock, because a lot of us use our mobile phones as the alarm clock. Like, it's the first thing you do when you wake up. So that's one I tried for a while. And if I'm honest, it massively improved my sleep. But it wasn't sustainable. You know, again, life is beautiful in balance, right? You pick the things that you think you can do. So my phone did come back in, but I do try and have that sort of quiet time at the start of the day. And I think it's those routines that really just set you up. So I have to admit that the end of my day is a little bit more fluid, but I do close. And that's one of the benefits, is that I can actually call it a day. I'm done now. I close the door and I'm doing other stuff, and I switch around where I am a lot. But my big thing is more listening to what your body needs in the moment, because we can be rigid about and the whole MO with LBB is finding little moments of pleasure in your day to just do what feels right. I will take a break in the middle of my day when I'm sort of hitting a wall and I can see I've stopped being creative. Stop and go. I have a hula hoop. I will pick one tune, one track on my phone, and do that for a minute. And just that little bit of activity makes me feel better, and I continue. I use flight mode all the time for that. And for each of you, you know this, right? Yvette mentioned it, like there is, and you'll hear if you turn up for next week, I want to say Wednesday session is with Nana and the power of essential oils and that link between our brain and scent, and how actually I started to use flight mode really to program myself. Right now, just smelling that fragrance is almost I'm signaling to my brain, it's time to relax. I smell it and I just breathe. It happens. But because it's what you said, Yvette, I've built in all of these little rituals, right? Most times when I pick it up, I am breathing. So who was it? Ngozi, you talked about breathing more, and it's the little things that we can do, right, to program the brain. But yes, I'm a huge fan of building in routines where possible, but also keeping it flexible when I need it to be.
Yeah, it's not about beating yourself up about it. You know, if you say you haven't exercised today, it's you know, a you haven't exercised today. It's not at the end of the world. If you're going to do it tomorrow, you do it tomorrow. If you know you're really busy that day, you flex and do something else. It's giving yourself permission to be and to be human and to allow all of that. Because sometimes self-care can go the other way, where people take it to the extremes. Well, I have to hit all my goals. Actually, no, it's not about, it's about making yourself feel good. If it doesn't feel good anymore, change it, do something different. Feel free to change it up a bit, because that will engage you again and excite you again.
I was just going to add, my old firm in Nigeria, actually, you weren't allowed to contact staff between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. and not on weekends.
Perfect.
And I found that very useful, because you could actually switch off only when there were really big emergencies. Then you were contactable. Apart from that, you couldn't send people messages at this time, so you didn't have your phone beeping every 5 seconds, you know. And I'm trying to adapt that now, because I went the other way, where at 4 a.m. I'm awake and I'm working, right? No, I'm a very early bird, so I'm working, but at 12 noon I'm like, right, I'm done now. What do I do? But then obviously you still have to be around work to function. But really, I've now found that I'm going back to that old method of, okay, weekends, unless it's necessary, let's not talk about work. Right? And just ensuring that after 7, I've completely shut down mentally. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. It is incredibly important to do that. And your firm obviously recognized that they can take leadership by setting those parameters, because often you might find it's your boss. If your boss doesn't believe in sleep on weekends, they expect you to do the same. Correct. So the leadership comes from the top, right? And, you know, if you decide, if you've got a team and you get up and you go for a lunch break, they will feel empowered to do the same. If you're there all the time, they won't feel that they can do that as well. So it's really important how you show up in a space and how you kind of lead as well.
And does anyone have any tips? I'm a huge fan of hearing what's working for other people, because then you hear what you can adapt for yourself. Just please share away. I like the accountability one, Marianne, that you shared. Huge fan. Whenever I'm feeling lazy, I think that's the word. Because that's really what it is. When I can't do it, I do that. I just almost pull people, or I commit to stuff, just so that then you're right about that we hate to let other people down, and I especially hate that. So it's one way of making sure I do stuff. But yes, other tips are helpful. I mean, we learned the other one, which I think is important work from the last session we had, which is around the thought work. I don't know if anyone's tried it yet, but really sitting down and actually getting into the mind and all those thoughts and stories that busy and almost act as roadblocks for your self-care. Because in those moments when you're trying to meditate, or you're having your quiet moments and your brain's flooding with all of these thoughts, and just being able to, it's what you said, almost like journaling, but actually just writing them down and downloading and freeing up the brain so that you can actually be more present in those moments. And I think the other one that I think about a lot is the things that we're already doing. I think you mentioned that, right? Like there are lots of things that we do mindlessly, even eating, right? When you go through it, and actually just being more present in that I'm eating, I'm putting moisturizer on my face, and that is actually looking after myself and doing something good for myself, and re-injecting pleasure into something that you would just have like, I did it, is mood boosting. I'm a huge fan of that. And it's an easy way of buying time, actually, because you're doing it anyway. You're just reframing.
Exactly. The reframe. One of my biggest go-tos is gratitude. It is the biggest thing that has kept me sane throughout lockdown. Basically, it's the practice of gratitude. And every morning I do a gratitude list, and every evening I do a short one of the day, and in the morning I do a longer one. And that is one way before you sleep, you clear your mind. But the act of gratitude, the act of giving thanks for anything, it actually changes how your brain operates. It really does. It rewires it. You change your perspective. You see things differently. You engage differently. And it just, even on the worst possible days, you can find so many things, and it starts to uplift you. And I'm on, I don't know, I think maybe day 500, I committed to, same thing, I did a commitment to daily gratitude. And I was like, I'm about day 500 something of doing this every single time. I don't miss it. Because I noticed the difference of who I am compared to when I wasn't doing it regularly and consistently and keeping up the practice. It's made a huge change. So if you haven't got a gratitude practice, start one.
Yes, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of that. Honestly, I think it's huge. I'm just conscious it's 8 o'clock.
Yes, it
But
is.
gratitude is a big one. I hope everybody does it. And I think I've shouted about this before, but a friend of mine told me about this. Okay, I'm a huge fan of hacks. If someone gives me a system, I can follow it and my life is easy. But it's the 6-minute diary. Again, you know, Amazon's got you covered. But what it does, it's just methodic, right? Each day you do it in the morning and the evening. You start your day with 3 things you're grateful for. This is how I'm going to make my day great. A positive affirmation. And then you come back at the end of the day and then you almost reflect, right? So what you set yourself, one good deed you did today, how will I improve my day? It's kind of like a learning, right? Going back, and then some great things you experience before you go to bed. It's just easy, but I think it makes a big difference anyway, or at least it does to me. But yes, Yvette, this has been such a great session. Thank you so much. How is everybody? Sorry, I apologize. I'm going off. I apologize. Something dropped. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody enjoyed that. Thank you all so much for attending. We're back here again tomorrow. And we have Fumi tomorrow, who's on and who's going to be sharing her lockdown. How in lockdown a very simple question she asked her daughter about what her daughter wanted to do with her birthday money, spend it on a present or invest, really started her down a path of, you know, creating this kids investment club, and her story around how that's come about and also how that's helped her find purpose in her life is really interesting. So I hope you guys will join. Yvette, great, thank you. If you guys look, that's Yvette's website. She's available. She's a coach and does a lot of important work with women, especially if you run a business. And yes, so thank you everybody. I appreciate your time, and we will see you back here tomorrow. I hope everyone's going to be here tomorrow too.
Brilliant. Thank you
so
everybody.
much,
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Fabulous.
Hit stop recording.
Yes, yes.